When I first started investing in different stocks, I assumed that there was one stock market, and that was where everybody went to buy and sell shares from any country, and then the platform that they used would be what decided their currency that they're using. However, the stock market is more of a general term for the buying and selling of shares. But the shares or bonds or securities, but we're just talking about stocks in this instance. But there is a difference, big difference between a market and an exchange. The market is the overall term. If you say I made money on the stock market, it could be with any stock on any exchange, but it is the general term for stocks, the stock market. Whereas an exchange is like a category inside the stock market, just to keep things simple. And depending on the country that you're in or that you want to invest in, and the currency that you use or that you intend on trading, or the specific stocks themselves, because some will be listed on particular exchanges. But it's important to know in the beginning that your platform will have a certain amount of exchanges on it, but there's about 60 in total, various sizes. So an exchange is simply a place to buy and sell stocks or bonds or securities. And generally it's an indication, it's not always accurate, but it's an indication of how that country is doing or the economy of that country is doing. They're not the exact same thing, as I'm sure a lot of people saw last year. There was a huge drop off in the market, and then when the whole world was locked down, people were not traveling, the stock market was booming. So it's not an absolutely accurate indication of how a country's economy is doing. It's just a vague idea. Generally, a good market means good living conditions and good economic health. Generally. However, you've probably heard it a million times before, there is no way of predicting how it's going to go. And that goes for any individual stock, or any individual exchange, or the overall stock market itself. There's no way of knowing. Everybody probably assumed last year that there would be a year of no growth, and instead it was the opposite. The stock market was absolutely booming. So in the beginning, exchanges have gone from inside specific buildings and trading pieces of paper between people. Whereas now, because technology has taken over, it's way easier for anyone to invest in any exchange on the stock market, regardless of where you are. People tend to stick to their own, like the exchange of their own country or their own currency. Now, obviously, I've got stocks from all over the world, but the downside of that is that exposes me to the risk of the value of each currency. So, say the euro became very weak, it became valued a lot less. Because my account is in euro, that means that for me to purchase shares in euro, when these euros get converted into the currency of these shares, I'll lose some of the value if the other currency is stronger. And the same thing the opposite way. If the euro is doing well and say some other currency was not doing well, I could purchase more shares for my euro than I could if I was using the same currency. But this also exposes you to, when you receive dividends, the same risk. Because if I receive a dividend in another currency which is weaker than the euro, I get less euro in my account for the dividends. So a lot of people stick to their own currency or the exchanges of their own country. But it's entirely up to you. So there's roughly 60 exchanges worldwide. And the 10 biggest ones are they're biggest by market cap or market capitalization. And it's important to know that market cap is completely decided by the stock market. Now, it's not the actual value of the company, even when you see it on an individual stock. Let's say this one. Market cap of 57.63 million, according to the stock market. It's very important to learn that very quickly. This is decided entirely by the stock market. So there's about 60 worldwide. The 10 biggest are the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ. Not listed here is the Tokyo Stock Exchange, then the Shanghai Stock Exchange, there's the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, then the next biggest is the London Stock Exchange, then there's the Euronext Exchange, but there's Euronext Brussels. I think there's a few others, Euronext Paris, they're the only two listed here. But the Euronext Exchange is next, 7 out of 10. Number 8 is the Shenzhen Stock Exchange, not listed here. Number 9 is the Toronto Stock Exchange, also not listed here. And the last one is the Deutsche Börse Exchange. So a quick recap. The overall term is the stock market. And inside the stock market there's various exchanges in different countries. There's about 60 overall, and whatever platform you're using will have its own list of exchanges that they have the permission to trade stocks on. People tend to stick to the exchanges of their own country and their own currency, but it is entirely up to you and dependent on the platform that you're using. And if you would like all of your buying and selling of stocks or bonds or securities to be done in your own currency, then it's best to stick to the exchanges of your own country. But as I said, it's entirely up to you. If you want to diversify across different countries, then there's plenty of platforms that will allow you to do that. But you will be exposed to the risk of the value of both currencies, your own one and the one that you're investing in. So it's important to clarify in the beginning what approach you want to take. So I hope that this was useful. And if you're new to the stock market, I've just started making the basics of the stock market and basics of dividend investing. And I'm also doing 5-minute breakdowns of all of my dividend stocks. I have a portfolio of about 530 dividend paying stocks at the moment. Or if you want to follow along the journey and see how that goes, my approach is to put €1 into 100 dividend paying stocks rather than €100 into one dividend paying stock. And I want to see what happens. So if you're interested in any of them things, feel free to subscribe and let me know how you feel and what you think. I hope that you stop by again soon.